Here's the Learning Target 4 notes. I'm going to go through quickly again. And this is all about graphing lines from equations of lines. I got 4 equations. I want to graph all the solutions to each one. And it's super easy when the equation is given to you in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b form. This is the y-intercept, and this is the slope. And the y-intercept and the slope give you a quick and easy way to find 2 points on the line. And 2 points is all you ever need. Listen to me. For me, all you ever need to graph for me, if I want you to graph a line, is 2 accurately placed points on the line. See, 2 fingers, 2. That's all. You might have room for a lot more points on the grid, but I don't need any more than 2, because mathematically, if you know where 2 accurately placed points are, that's really all you need to know where the whole rest of the line is. So since this first equation is in this form, we can find the first point immediately by going to positive 4 on the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one line. And then from that point, we use the slope, negative 2/3, to find the second point. Since it is a negative slope, the line must be going down and to the right. Down and to the right. Then the next point has to be somewhere in this direction from that point there. Negative 2/3. Okay. This is the y change. This is the x change, or as a lot of you know it, rise over run. So 2 down and then 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that point is at the location 3, 2. Okay. I don't have lines on these grids, so I want you to know exactly the location of that point. If you've got lines on a grid where you're doing this work, you don't have to label the coordinates. But if you're doing this work on computer paper like this, or lined paper where you're creating your own grid, it would be helpful, almost necessary, for you to label the coordinates of these 2 points clearly. This one I can tell because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the y-axis. I can see all the hash marks. Okay, and I can see the hash marks here too. But sometimes people are a little sloppy about this work, and the point isn't really located very carefully at 3, 2. And so if you're going to do it on blank or just plain school lined paper, I want you to label the coordinates at any point that is not on one of the axes, so I know exactly where it is. Okay, and that's it. It's the only 2 points you need to give me. So in this equation, it kind of looks like we don't have a b value. Where's the b value? Well, you've got to use your imagination and think of the b value as being 0, because adding 0 to this side of the equation doesn't really change that side of the equation. 4x plus 0 is the same thing as 4x. And so if the y-intercept is 0, there is a point right there at 0 on the y-axis. You also got to use your imagination for the slope and think of it as 4 over 1. Okay, that's a positive slope. So from here, the line is going up and to the right, not down and to the right. So the next point's got to be up and to the right from this point. So y change of 4, x change of 1. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the y direction, 1 in the x direction. There is the second point. And again, 2 points is all I need. Even though there might be room for another point down here, don't waste your time. You got 2 good points, that's all I need. Number 3, this equation and the next one, they're not in y equals mx plus b form. Okay? And my advice to you, although there are other ways to solve the problem of graphing the line from this equation, there are other ways to do it. But my recommendation to you is to rearrange the equation into y equals mx plus b form. Solve it for y. So we got to get this y isolated, which means we got to subtract the 6x from both sides, and we'll get negative 10y equals negative 6x plus 20. And then we've got to divide everything through by negative 10. When you divide, you got to divide everything. Okay? I can't tell you how often I see some people missing one of these things to divide by. Divide everything. So over here, the negative tens cancel out. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. And the 6/10 reduces to 3/5. And then a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So minus 2. This went from being plus 20 to minus 2. Now it's easy to graph the line. Go to, negative 2 on the y-axis, 1, 2 down. And from that point, this is a positive slope, so the line's going in that direction up and to the right, but specifically it's going up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 5 to the right from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the exact coordinates of that point are 5, 1, and there's the line. Okay. Now here's another equation which is not in y equals mx plus b form. It's closer to y equals mx plus b form than this line was, that's for sure. Like you might think you can actually tell what the slope of this line is going to be before we do any rearranging. And you'd probably be right, but we really need to do some work in order to find the y-intercept properly. That is not obvious from the way this equation is written. So again, we're going to solve for y. And so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. But, we're going to need to distribute this negative 2 at some point. And I think right now would be probably the best time to do it. So negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. Then subtract 3 from both sides. Get y equals negative 2x. That's a plus 5. So our y-intercept is at 1, 2, 3, 4, positive 5. The slope, use your imagination again. Think of that as negative 2 over 1. It's a negative slope. The line must be going down and to the right, but more specifically, down 2 and over 1. So the coordinates of that point specifically are 1, 3. And there you go.